Hey, what's cracking everybody? Welcome back to Computer Games Hardware. Ryzen 9000 is arriving next month and AMD had a massive showing at Computex 2024. They certainly had a lot of stuff going on, and as you could imagine, the buzzword on everyone's lips was
AI.
You guessed it, baby, AI. AI was everywhere at Computex 2024. Dr. Lisa Su probably said
AI.
about 50 times in her introduction alone. AI is certainly a buzzword now, and it's obvious for most brands that AI can mean just about anything. For AMD, they talked about AI being in high-end desktop PCs like the Ryzen 9000 series, high-performance laptops, and in data centers. And this year, a huge focus for AMD was about partnership. They brought on a lot of their guests, including Microsoft, Lenovo, different partners from all different parts of the tech industry, data center partners, and all that sort of stuff. AMD generally do that, but they were really making a point of it this year. I'll link into the description for Dr. Lisa Su's presentation from Computex 2024, so you can take a look at all that good stuff. But today we are talking about Ryzen 9000, so let's get stuck into it. You might notice that there's jumping from the 7000 series right over to the 9000 series. Part of that reason is because the 8000 series is they've got APUs and NPUs and all different SKUs that have made the 8000 series a little bit confusing. So they've just leapfrogged that and gone straight with the 9000 series. So you've heard us talk about these before. These are the Granite Ridge CPUs Zen 5 that are on the AM5 platform. These CPUs support DDR5 and PCIe 5 pretty much across the board. So pretty excited about the new CPUs. This will be the second generation on the AM5 socket, and we've got some more to talk about that a little later on in the video. And Dr. Lisa Su was all about it and all about the benchmarks and talking about upping the performance. So the Ryzen 9000 series has improved accuracy and latency. There's higher throughput with wider pipelines and vectors, and there's a deeper window size across the design for more parallelism. So that's all to say that there is up to 2 times more IPC bandwidth. There's more L1 and L2 cache data, and there's new up to 2 times AI performance. So whatever that means, I'm not quite sure what that translates to. All right, guys, let's talk about some of these SKUs. So first up, we've got the big bad 9950X. This is a 16-core, 32-thread CPU with a 5.7 gigahertz boost clock and a 4.3 base clock. It's got 80 megabytes of cache, and it's PCIe Gen 5 with 170 watt TDP. Next up, we've got the 9900X, which is a 12-core, 24-thread CPU. This has a 5.6 gigahertz boost and a 4.4 gigahertz base clock. So you can see where if you give it a boost, you've got to give and take some from the base frequency as well. This has 76 megabytes of cache, again, Gen 5 PCIe, but this SKU is only 120 watt TDP. So that's really interesting for mine, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. We've also got the 9700X, which is the 8-core showing, so 8-core, 16 threads, which has up to 5.5 and boost and 3.8 gigahertz on the base frequency. This has 40 megabytes of cache, again, Gen 5, PCIe Gen 5 and 65 watts. And same for the 6-core as well. The 9600X, which is a 6-core, 12-thread CPU, has up to a 5.4 boost clock and a 3.9 base frequency. So that's interesting. You get a little bit more base performance out of the 6-core. This has 38 megabytes, again, PCIe Gen 5, and also a 65 watt part. So for me, guys, I'm loving the 9900X. The TDP at 120 watts means for me and for most people that it's just a slide in part. You don't need to upgrade your PSU. You probably won't need to upgrade your cooling system, particularly anyone on the 7000 series, because all those CPUs, all those 7000 series CPUs are running at 170 watts in the higher end. So if you're looking for an upgrade and you're already running 170 watt part, dropping down and getting a little more performance, with better IPC gains is probably a pretty cool proposition. So for me, it means new MOBO, some new DDR5 RAM, and my new CPU, and I'm good to go. So that is a really exciting proposition, and sometimes why it's worth waiting for the second generation of a platform to flourish. So when you're on the bleeding edge, anything goes. But as things mature, we learn how to get a little bit performance out of everything, and we're seeing the AM5 platform mature. So that's really exciting for me. I can't wait. It'll be interesting to see where all the other tech tubers start doing their benchmarks and we get some performance testings out of these parts. I'd like to see the difference between the 9950 and the 9900X. It'll be really interesting for me to see, because I think as a content creator and a gamer, that's probably where I'm at. Now, there's no pricing on these CPUs yet. However, they will launch next month in July, and the 9000 series CPU prices are rumored to be the same as the 7000 series prices. So, fingers crossed, that sounds like pretty good news, and that'd be pretty competitive, particularly for someone like me who's holding off for a mix of productivity, performance, content creation, and gaming. Again, that's all very exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing the benchmarks from all the other hardware channels, such as Hardware Unboxed, and seeing some real life performance out of these. Take AMD's benchmarks and slides that you're seeing in this video with a grain of salt. Hardware Unboxed did a great Q&A video on how they did some AMD did some dodgy benchmark practices using older and different CPUs, and using a different not the highest performance configuration for the Intel parts that they tested against. So I'm really interested to see the all the testing that comes out in the next couple of weeks. So, where do we think performance is going to be for these CPUs? Well, for me, who's held off for an upgrade, it's going to be a massive upgrade. So that's not really a issue for me. It's a new platform, heaps of IPC gains, heaps of productivity and performance gain. I'm not so much worried about my gaming performance. I can be happy with dropping things down and whatever. So I'm not looking for bleeding edge gaming performance. I am looking for content creation performances and performance gains and stuff like that. So for me, this is going to be a pretty good upgrade path. People have crunched the numbers and they're a bit cautious about this. They're suggesting that there might only be a 5 to 10% gaming performance in the Ryzen 9000 series that are releasing next month. And, that might be about right. But I think there's a reason for that too. You're probably asking, where are all the 3D V-cache parts coming? So they haven't announced that yet, but I do think that they are coming. So I suspect that 3D V-cache chips, including 12 and 16 core 3D V-cache chips, will launch closer to Intel's Arrow Lake's launch later in the year. So that's probably Q4 2024. And I reckon that if you're looking for gaming performances, that's where you'll find the fastest gaming CPUs in the world. So it actually might be worth, for those looking simply for gaming performance, to hold off to the end of the year to see what the Intel and AMD's offerings will actually be. So I suspect it's going to be a pretty big year in the gaming market for AMD and Intel CPUs. So if this isn't tickling your fancy and you're thinking, there's not much performance here for me, or you're a 7000 series CPU owner, you might want to hold off and see what the end of the year holds, because I think that's where the real battle is won. Great for me as a content creator who wants the productivity gains, but if you're looking for some gaming performance, that's what I think is going to happen. In fact, Tom's Hardware asked the senior technical manager of consumer processors, Tom Wogrowski, sorry if I'm butchering that, mate, if the 9950X would be the fastest gaming chip on the market. And he said, and I quote, "Is it the fastest in gaming? It's faster than the competition in our tests. X3D is still the king of the hill, but by a much smaller margin than typically between X3D and non-X3D. So a 7800 X3D would, yes, be faster than the 9700X, but maybe not by as much as you would expect." So there you have it. The 7800 X3D is still the king of gaming. So if you're looking for a good deal, you might want to wait until these things launch and look at the 7800 X3D to get the best gaming performance. But also be warned, AMD have been a little bit coy in the past by under promising and over delivering. So, I think there might be more gains than they're actually presenting in this presentation. It's not outside of the realms of AMD. They've done that before. So, it will be interesting to see. The good thing I think about these launches is that you can just wait. My advice for now until the end of the year is you're only going to have more options by the end of the year. The full stack will be released and you'll be able to make better informed decisions. So, for someone like me who's going to pull the trigger on a productivity chip anyway, then your answer's there. But it might be worth waiting if you're looking for the best gaming performance. It'll also be interesting because we might be getting news of RDNA 4 and Battle Mage GPUs a bit further down the line. So will they have PCIe 5? All that good stuff. What's the memory going to look like? We know that there's been concerns about the lower memory bandwidth on AMD GPUs that are said to be rumors, but we'll know more by the end of the year. So it's a pretty interesting time for CPUs. I think it's going to be a pretty good year for Intel, AMD, and everyone involved. We also got some AM5 platform news, which is really good to see. So AMD are extending the life of the AM5 platform well into 2027, which is awesome news. We know that the AM4 platform is officially the best platform to ever have existed because of its longevity, and they're still releasing chips for it, which we will get stuck into a little bit later. But AMD saying initially that the AM5 platform was going to be supported from, I think it was like 2025 plus. So they've officially extended that by a couple of years now to see us through to the end of 2027. So that is some really good news. So for me, that suggests that it's going to see us through Zen 5 and potentially all the way through to Zen 6. That is really good news for me. Hey, just want to jump in here and say, if you're enjoying Computer Games Hardware, please chuck us a like, share, and subscribe. Big hello to all our new subscribers, and thanks everyone who's stuck around from the very beginning. Appreciate you guys all. Just want to let you know that we're working on some Computer Games Hardware merch. So this is the first prototype there of the Computer Games Hardware mug. We are doing some testing. You can see there's some fading on this one, so that's why it's mine. But we're going to have some new mugs and new merch coming soon. So if you're interested in getting some Computer Games Hardware merch or gear, please let me know in the comments down below what kind of stuff you're looking. Please let me know what kind of stuff that you'll be interested in We can do t-shirts, mugs, all that sort of stuff. I'm also looking into high-end cables, so USB 4, DisplayPort and HDMI and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to see what works, and we'll have updates for you throughout the year. So thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate you all. Alright guys, with new chips also comes new chipsets. So AMD have also announced that 800 series of chipset motherboards. These things have jumped from the 600 to the 800 series, driving everyone crazy, skipping over the 700 series. And I think the only reason AMD have done this one this time around is to sort of catch up to Intel a little bit. Stupid. I don't know why they do it. All right. So the new chipset comes with USB 4 standard across every motherboard. Also PCIe 5 for not only GPUs but for storage as well. So that is good news. And then there's increased memory frequency for Expo. Don't even think that these motherboards are coming out day and date with the CPU. So I think they release a month after the CPUs. That means you'll be having to use your X670 motherboards and updating the BIOS in them. So just going in there. So before you go trying to rush out to build your dream build, just be warned, buyer beware, that these will not be available when the CPUs, the 9000 series CPUs launch. I'm not sure why they're doing it like that. They don't usually do that. I think they're just giving their 600 motherboard manufacturers an opportunity to sell off all their motherboards, while probably recognizing that these boards are going to be way future proof for what people have in their systems anyway. So you might be able to save a little bit of cash with that, and we know the support's going to be good for years to come. So if you want to save a few bucks there, it might even be worth looking at a cheap 600 series motherboard, X670 motherboard, to get you through. So let's say you didn't want to do any of that. So you didn't want to move to a new platform, you don't want to upgrade, you don't want to mess around with any of that. Well, AMD have you covered with all that as well. If you're still on the AM4 platform, AMD's got you, baby. We are getting 2 new CPUs for the 5000 series. So this is straight from the horse's mouth. AMD is continuing its unprecedented support for the AM4 platforms with 2 new additions to the Ryzen 5000 series desktop processor family, the Ryzen 9 5900 XT and the Ryzen 7 5800 XT desktop processors. The new Ryzen 5000 series desktop processors are expected to be available to DIY customers and SI partners starting in July 2024. Woohoo! That is really good news. That is amazing support from an almost 10-year-old platform. I can't believe how well it's supported. And we've got some really good news. Let's have a look at these CPUs. So first up, we've got the Ryzen 9 5900 XT. And surprisingly, guys, this is a 16-core processor. So it's got 16 cores, 32 threads, and it's up to 4.8 gigahertz boost and a 3.3 gigahertz base. That is pretty unreal. It's also got 72 megabytes of cache. It is PCIe Gen 4, and it's got 105 watt TDP. Next up, we've got the 5800 XT, which is an 8-core and 16-thread processor, which is up to 4.8 gigahertz and 3.8 gigahertz base frequency. So that is crazy. It's got 36 megabytes of cache, Gen 4, and also a 105 watt part. So that is really good news. Really good to see that the 5900X is the 16 core CPU. So that is a cut down 5950 XT, I believe. So that is good news. You get some pretty good performance, almost getting really close to 5.8 gigahertz there. So that is pretty awesome to see. All right, guys. So while these parts are excellent value, there's also a couple of other options available to you. So, the AM4 platform still exists. There are CPUs out there. If you can get a vanilla 5900X, a 5950X, secondhand for some good value, you might want to consider doing that. You can overclock these parts and get pretty much the same performance or close enough to at a fraction of the price. You might even be able to put that money into upgrading your RAM, getting some better performance out of your RAM. Who knows? You might even a little bit down the line when those PCIe USB 4 modules come out, you stick a card in your slot, you might be happy for quite some years to come. Let's go to the computer screen and I want to show you what I've done with my 5900X. So I'm running at Precision Boost Overdrive and I've got my fan curve optimized in the negative. So you can see I've got my curve optimizer on -20, which is pretty good for a CPU like this. I might have won the silicon lottery. Some people can't get it past 10 or 8. However, if you do get one of those parts, this is the type of performance you can get out of it. Hey, by the way, what do you guys think about the new logo? I've straightened things out a bit, made it a little bit more detailed and legible. We did that to update all the mugs and everything. So you would have seen that there's a new computer games hardware logo coming out to you there. So there you go. So with a little bit of overclocking, you can certainly mimic the performance of these new CPUs. What you can't do is get an extra 4 cores. So that's where you might want to do it. You'll get some really good gains with an extra 4 cores, but you can also buy a 5950X. So if you think that the the AM4 longevity is a bit of a joke, well, I say to you that I've been running on this platform, content creating, and having a really good time in the latest games. And all I had to do was a little bit of trial and error in overclocking, making sure that my fan curve is nice and stable and all that sort of stuff. So if you've got the time and patience to do that, you can extend the life of a lot of your equipment. So there you have it. You can get a pretty good overclock on some of these parts if you're not interested in buying brand new. Anyway, what do you guys think about the Ryzen 9000 series? I, for one, am pretty excited. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you planning on doing any upgrades? Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I've had a really good time making this one. I hope you've had a good time watching it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.